That's kind of very alarming to me. Why the hell would Future's blood brother, who kind of like runs the FBG label, why would he have a bunch of like, do people keep for their own personal use? No, right? I don't know too much about like that type of drugs, but no, right? So that kind of seems like they're doing some drug dealing, right? 21 kilos? Wow.
The feds just carried out a massive sweep, and the fallout is shaking Atlanta's hip-hop scene to its core. Future's real-life brother, FBG Casino, is now staring down federal charges that could keep him locked away for the rest of his life. And insiders say this case is way deeper than most people realize. Behind the flashy lifestyle, the chains, and the FBG reputation, prosecutors say Casino was tied to a serious operation that ended with agents seizing 21 kilograms of illegal substances and nearly $400,000 in cash, turning Whispers into a full-blown federal nightmare. What really brought Casino down, ISNT? As simple as one bad move or one unlucky day, according to what's unfolding? The feds weren't just chasing him, they were building something much bigger, something that could stretch far beyond one arrest and send shockwaves through circles connected to Future himself, at least according to online speculation. This isn't rumor talk anymore. This is federal paperwork, surveillance, and a timeline that's been quietly forming for years. Now let's slow this down and get into the real breakdown. Streets were already buzzing about Casino getting picked up, but a lot of noise has been mixed with half-truths, so it's time to separate facts from fiction. November 19th, 2025 is the date everything flipped for Rico DeVille Boyce, better known as FBG Casino, Future's actual blood brother. Not a labeled tie, not a rap affiliate, real family. At 41 years old, Casino was staying at an Airbnb in Forest Park, Georgia, thinking it was just another low-key move. Instead, a federal task force stormed the property like a movie scene. And this wasn't some local situation, this was federal heat with mandatory minimums attached. The kind of case that doesn't fade away and doesn't leave room for second chances. Here's where it gets wild. Casino reportedly spotted agents pulling up and made a split-second decision to bolt through a side door. A grown man with decades in the game, still reacting off instinct like the old days. But federal agents don't miss steps. They had the area mapped, watched, and timed. When they caught him, he had $4,000 in cash on him. Which sounds like money to regular people, but in this world, that's pocket change. And that detail matters, because this wasn't a corner setup or a small-time hustle. Authorities describe this as a well-organized distribution network that stayed under the radar for years. It's a kind of operation that only gets exposed once the feds feel confident they can take down everyone involved. That's where another name enters the picture. David S. Devin, also known as Montello Diaz, a 23-year-old from Coachella, California, allegedly tied into the same operation. This coast-to-coast connection is likely what triggered federal interest in the first place. Once product starts crossing state lines, that's when local cases turn into federal nightmares. For someone his age, Diaz probably thought he was stepping into quick money. Instead, he's now facing the same life-altering charges as Casino. And while agents only found $4,000 on Casino at the moment of arrest, investigators say what they uncovered inside paints a much bigger picture, one that explains why this case exploded the way it did. 21 kilograms of that deadly substance. Nearly $380,000 in rubber-banded cash stacks, a money counter, a food sealing machine, and a Glock 19, all found in one place. That's not random luck or sloppy street work, that's structure, planning, and organization. Federal agents also say they uncovered an additional $80,000 stuffed inside a designer bag tied directly to Casino. This man was allegedly living like a full-blown kingpin, all while his brother is worth hundreds of millions and sitting at the top of the rap world. But here's where this whole situation takes a surreal turn. Casino literally appeared in Future's music video Feds, acting out a sweep scenario, surrounded by cash, product, and that exact lifestyle. Watching it back now feels eerie. Was it life copying art, or art copying real life? Either way, it looks like he was showing the world exactly how he was moving, while federal agents were likely watching every frame and taking notes. And this goes way deeper than one search or one arrest. Casino didn't just pop up overnight. He's been talking about the game for years, openly, confidently, even branding himself around it. Back in 2013, he dropped a mixtape titled X Drug Dealer, telling the world he left the streets behind and turned the page to music. But now that X label is being questioned hard. Let's rewind the timeline because this story has been cooking for over a decade. That 2013 project featured major Atlanta names and heavyweight production. Pushing the image of someone who survived the streets and leveled up into the industry, Casino positioned himself as proof that you could escape the hustle and win clean. Oh, that narrative stuck for years. Fast forward to 2017, and Casino is doing interviews saying trapping is dead, claiming real trappers don't exist anymore. He warned that people were sloppy, posting everything online, basically building cases against themselves. The irony is wild because, according to critics, that's exactly what he was doing, stacking footage, statements, and visuals that could later be flipped against him. It came more interviews, more cameras, more flexing. One appearance, he's moving around, allegedly armed, talking about protection, showing weapons and luxury vehicles. Comment sections lit up immediately. People warned him that this wasn't smart, that this looked like self-documentation, not entertainment. One comment even said, "How many people gotta go federal before they realize these videos tell the whole story?" That line aged way too well. Now let's talk street psychology. When your brother is worth $50 to $100 million and you're still risking federal time, that's not about money alone. That's pride, independence, and not wanting to feel like you're living off someone else's success. In street culture, that mindset runs deep. Some people would rather risk everything than feel dependent even if it's family. But here's where it gets tricky. Casino wasn't just Future's brother, he was also involved in FBG's business side, trusted with operations and day-to-day movement. That's where the real questions start forming. Where does the legit business stop? Where does the illegal activity allegedly begin? That's exactly the kind of gray zone the feds love to live in. This is where RICO cases are born. And here's the real gut punch. Casino is facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years, with a maximum of life at 41 years old. That's not just time, that's a potential life-ending sentence. There's no reset button after that. Hey, but this is where the questions start piling up fast. Casino didn't just start moving yesterday. He's been visible for years, posting on social media, doing interviews, showing lifestyle, even popping up in that viral Feds. Did a sweet moment where he's literally surrounded by money and product. So why now? Why did the feds decide this was the moment to kick doors? Real talk, this wasn't random. You don't just accidentally find 21 kilos and $380,000 in cash. That kind of seizure means specific intelligence. They knew where to go, when to move, and exactly what they were walking into. Somebody talked, period. This case smells like information, not coincidence. Casino had been operating for years, but something clearly changed. That California connection with David Montello Diaz could have been the trigger. Cross-state movement is like lighting a flare for federal agencies. Once interstate lines get involved, local problems turn federal fast. Here's what people need to understand about how the feds really work. They don't wake up bored and decide to raid someone. They build cases slowly. Months, sometimes years. Wiretaps, surveillance, financial records, digital footprints. But the biggest weapon they use? People flipping. Somebody in Casino Circle likely got caught up on a smaller situation and decided to save themselves. That's how these cases snowball. One person folds, then another name gets added, then locations, then money trails. That's how the big fish gets targeted. Now zoom out because this isn't just about Casino anymore. The feds love RICO cases, and they already showed the blueprint with YSL. Labels, crews, business entities, they don't see music, they see structure. Future has FBG. Casino handled day-to-day operations, money flowing, artists moving, and now federal charges sitting right in the middle. From a prosecutor's angle, it's easy to tell a story. They could try to frame FBG not as a label, but as an enterprise. I've already argued before that rap collectives can double as criminal organizations. Lyrics, posts, interviews, transactions, everything gets weaponized. And here's where it gets dangerous. Future's catalog is full of references to the trap, moving weight, street economics. Prosecutors love that. They don't care about art, they care about narratives. They could claim the music reflects real activity, not storytelling. Another angle. Follow the money. If Casino was allegedly touching hundreds of thousands, where did it go? Is any of it mixed into legitimate businesses? Were there investments that didn't match reported income? That S where forensic accountants come in, people whose only job is tracing dollars until the story lines up. And once they start pulling that thread, cases get very real, very fast. That's how dirty money gets pushed through clean-looking businesses, and this right here isn't just about one arrest. This is about how the feds move in 2025, and their playbook hasn't changed one bit. They don't stop at street-level players anymore. They want the entire structure, top to bottom. We've seen this movie before. Look at what happened with Young Thug and YSL. Look at what they tried pulling with Cash Money Records back in the day, and definitely look at the Black Mafia family case. Same formula every time. Start with the soldiers, pressure the lieutenants, then climb straight up to the generals. But here's the part that really makes you stop and think. Why now? Casino didn't just wake up in 2025 and start moving. He'd been active for years. So why did the hammer drop in November 2025 specifically? There are a few possibilities. One theory floating around is that Donald Trump's new administration may be pushing a harder federal crackdown. Another is the oldest story in the books. Someone high up got jammed up and decided to cooperate. Or maybe the simplest answer is the most dangerous one. The feds finally felt like they had enough evidence to move forward with something much bigger. Now here's the part people really struggle to understand. Why was Casino still out there at all? We're talking about a brother who could have easily been on payroll, fully legit, no risk, no exposure. When someone in your family is worth hundreds of millions, why gamble your entire life away? That comes down to street mentality. In that world, walking away feels like betrayal. Some people feel like they owe the streets for making them who they are. Casino may have felt responsible for the network he built, the people depending on him, the structure he helped maintain. That loyalty runs deep, but it comes with a brutal price. That price might be the rest of his life. Family loyalty is real, but business is business. It's very possible Future told him years ago to step away, but you can't save someone who refuses to exit the game. Now, Future is stuck in a dangerous position. Helping too much could look suspicious. Even paying legal fees could be framed as see how enterprises take care of their own. That's how prosecutors think. And make no mistake, this isn't just about Casino alone. He's facing conspiracy charges, which means the government believes others were involved. They've got the California connection with Montelo Diaz, years of interviews, posts, visuals, and now federal seizures to back it up. And here's another major red flag. This wasn't handled by random local officers. It was a Homeland Security Investigations Task Force unit designed specifically to target large-scale cross-border criminal networks. That alone signals they believe this is way bigger than one man. At the end of the day, this situation isn't just about product or charges. It's about pride, loyalty, and not knowing when to walk away. Casino had multiple exits and never took one. And when the feds finally come knocking, they don't miss. He could have been living comfortable, untouched. No federal heat, no prison countdown ticking away. But sometimes the streets don't let you walk away. Or maybe the truth is you don't want to let the streets go. It's the real tragedy behind Casino's story. This Ice and Tea just a headline at S. A cautionary tale about what happens when someone can evolve past the environment that made them. Casino had the blueprint sitting right in front of him. His own brother went from the streets to global superstardom, building generational wealth and legitimacy. But instead of following that same path, Casino stayed loyal to a game that was never loyal back. Now he's 41 years old, staring at a possible life sentence, and for what? Money he didn't need. Respect from people who won TB there when he is doing decades in a federal cell. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. The real question now is what happens next for Future and free bands. If the feds are building a RICO case, this arrest is just the opening chapter. From here on out, every move gets watched, every lyric gets dissected, every dollar gets traced. Future may be forced to make some brutal decisions, not just as an artist, but as a businessman and a brother. Protect the brand, protect the empire, or risk being pulled into something bigger than music. That's the pressure federal cases create. And make no mistake, this case stretches far beyond Casino. The prosecutors successfully argue that FBG is a criminal enterprise. It opens the door to targeting entire labels and movements. That's a dangerous line. Every rapper who ever talked about the streets could suddenly be vulnerable. Lyrics, visuals, interviews, all of it reframed as evidence instead of art. We've already seen this play out before with Bobby Shmurda, and again with Young Thug. Now people are asking if the same spotlight is swinging toward Future. The message from the feds is loud and clear. Success in hip-hop does not shield you from investigation, especially when family or close associates are still active in the streets. What prosecutors are really arguing is something deeper and more controversial, that hip-hop culture itself is criminal, that the music is just a front. That's a dangerous precedent. It threatens every artist who came from nothing and built something real. Casino facing life at 41 is proof that the streets dainty reward loyalty, they collect payment. Walking away from the life that made you is hard, but the alternative is spending the rest of your life in a cage. The streets will always be there. Your freedom won't. As for Future, he's likely surrounded by the best legal minds money can buy, moving carefully to make sure none of this splashes onto his career. But the harsh reality is simple. When the feds want dots connected, they'll keep pulling threads until something ties. His smartest move right now is distance, silence, and clean separation from anything that could be twisted into conspiracy. So what do you think? Is this just about Casino making his own choices? Or are the feds quietly building a RICO case around FBG? Should Future have done more to pull his brother away? Or is this simply the outcome of a grown man refusing to change? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and turn notifications on, because federal cases move fast. When the next update hits, you'll hear it here first. And Dan T missed the video on screen breaking down how the feds built their case against Young Thug, because that same playbook might already be in motion right now. This story isn't over.